guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. I am having one of those fabulous, wonderful, amazing conversations once more again. Yes, I am joined by Alyson from King's Court Season 1. If you've been paying attention to the reviews we've been doing, it's been an amazing season. It's been some really interesting dynamics between the ladies trying to get to know these wonderful three kings, Tyson, Carlos, and also Thaddeus. And so I decided to reach out to Alyson to get her experience and her journey on the show, as well as getting to know her a little bit better, because you heard her singing voice notes, okay? And I like to sing, so I've brought someone who's a professional this time, okay? So you won't have to hear me sing today, okay? But listen, Alyson, thank you very much, and I'm glad to have you here. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I am very excited and happy to be here. Before the show started, I mentioned to you briefly that I've seen some of your other interviews. I love how you do a sort of a psychological take and review on everybody's process and what you at home as viewers are seeing, and then getting our perspective of it. So I'm excited for this conversation.
No, I love that too. I love that. And I love the green on you. You're looking very beautiful today. So, no, it's all right. It's all right. The truth is free, I would say. Truth is free. Well, I guess before we get into any kind of real conversation, we like to do what we call here human verification. We want to make sure that Alyson, right now in this world of 2025, where there's AI bots and all of this technology, that right now you're not an AI person. You're a real individual. Okay. So I've got a few questions.
Okay.
You ready?
Ready.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Favorite color?
Purple.
Ooh, royalty. Okay. Favorite food?
Oh, that's tough. I'm gonna say my spiced blackened salmon.
You said my. Sounds like you're also cooking that.
Oh yes, yeah. It has to be my version. The version. Yes, it's really good.
Okay. I'm hearing something. Okay, I see you. Favorite drink?
Like a cocktail?
Could be cocktail, could be non. I mean, I don't drink, so
Oh, okay.
But could be a cocktail, could be a non-drink alcoholic drink.
In general, I love like a fizzy water. There's just something about a fizzy seltzer water that is great on the palate. And then if I had to choose a cocktail, it would be a Tito's martini up with a twist.
Oh, what's in a Tito's martini? What goes into that?
It's vodka martini. It's just, it's a type of vodka, and then just with a hint of vermouth, and then a lemon twist.
You see, even the way you say that sounds classy. I don't know what the heck was in that. Yes. Yeah. If I drank, I would take that. Okay, so maybe they can do me a mocktail. Okay, you know? Yeah, they did a mocktail, right? Okay, so maybe I'll try and see that. I'll ask them at the bar next time and see what they will give me that. Final question. I got too much. I said final question, about two more. If you had a plane ticket to anywhere in the world, anywhere, you could go wherever you wanted to go, where would you go?
Right now, on this day, it would be to Barbados. I need a vacation, and I love Barbados so much. I grew up going there pretty much every summer, and I know those beaches, I know the people, I know the culture, and I just love it. So that would be where I would want to go right now.
Ooh, Barbados, I like that. Okay, I like it. Sun, warmth, and sea.
Yes.
Good choice. Final question.
Okay.
Final question, because we need to make sure really are human here. Milk or cereal in the bowl first?
Oh, cereal. That's not even up for debate. Come on. Cereal in the bowl first, milk over it. Are you a milk first person?
I mean, I want to. Yes, I want to see I want to see the pouring into the. I want it to hit the water. I want it to hit the milk, so I know this is real. You know what I mean?
That's gonna be messy, though.
Yeah, but that's the experience. You know what I mean?
All right, if you say so.
Alison's like,
I'll have to try that one.
Okay, here's a weird one. Have you ever tried? See, this is I don't know if you guys have the biscuit. We have it rich tea. Rich tea?
I don't think I've tried that.
It's like a oh wait, the Americans call it biscuit. We call it biscuit, but
like a cookie.
You guys call it cookies, yeah. So you call it cookie. So the cookie would be called rich tea, but it's like a plain. Yeah, like a digestive. Okay, it's like a digestive. Have you ever tried? I was gonna get a bit weird now. You ever tried cereal and breaking up the digestive in the cereal and having a little something?
I have not. This sounds very much like a UK thing.
It's not even UK. I can't lie to you. They don't do it either. It's a me thing.
It's a
you need to try it.
All right, I'm gonna take your word for it. All right, I'll have to try that. I'll have to try that.
Try it and see what happens. You know what I mean? See what happens. Okay. But listen, you have passed our test of human verification. We believe you're a human being, so we are very much happy to have you on board, Alyson. Okay.
Thank you. Great to be here.
No worries at all. No worries at all. Well, let's get into some conversation because I want to get to know you a bit better, right? Because I think the show will always show what they want to show about you. And it's always usually a particular dimension. But you are far more than just what the show showed because you've lived an expansive, colorful life as well. So I guess my first question for you then is, who is Alyson? And then what is Alyson's story?
That's a big question.
It is. Take it wherever you want to take it to. I'm on a journey with you.
Okay, that covers a lot. So who is Alyson? I'll start big picture.
Okay.
I'd say Alyson is somebody who knows exactly who she is. And at this stage and this place and time in her life, she has lived a lot. She's traveled a lot. She's done a lot, seen a lot, good, bad, ugly, in between. And all of that, I'm sort of, I'm just aware of who that person is. And I'm proud of who that person is. To go back, my backstory, I was born and raised in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. I come from a multiracial home. My father is from Guyana in South America, Black Guyanese. My mother is American, but Danish-Norwegian origin. So that is my mixture. And what I find very interesting, just knowing sort of about my parents' story and their history, when they got married, interracial marriage was not even still legal in every state in America, which is kind of something to ponder.
Yeah.
Right. And they are together now over 50 years. I have a younger brother that I am very close with, Darren. And I have a sister-in-law, and I have two incredible, adorable, talented, smart, athletic nieces, Kaya and Zoe, that I adore. And they're all still in the DC area. And let's see, growing up, it was very interesting. You know, I went to private school. I was the only student, one of the only students of color in my school from pretty much like pre-K until 8th grade. There were only about 8 students of color in my class, which is always a unique experience. And, you know, it's really interesting now in 2025, I will say. You see so many people who look like me, right? Who have a mixed skin complexion or light eyes and a sort of slightly racially ambiguous. That's the norm. That's the norm these days. When I was growing up in Virginia, a suburb of DC, there was like nobody. I was the only one. And I was, and, you know, I had big curly hair and huge curly hair and glasses. And I was constantly asked, what are you? What are you? Because I didn't look like the other kids. I wasn't obviously Black. I wasn't obviously white. People just didn't know. And I would say, I'm mixed. And to explain to some of my, white counterparts, other young students, I would say, well, I'm just like you, but I have a tan all year round. So I would try to explain my difference. And I would explain,
Yes.
my mom is white, my dad is black. And you would just see, again, back then, confusion, and just lots of questions because it wasn't the norm back then. Then growing up, going into high school, into college, I felt like sort of clearly identifying my Blackness became more important to me. Not that I ever questioned it, right?
I understand.
Not that I ever questioned it, because I was equally raised by my Caribbean and by my Danish and Norwegian sides, right? Both of my grandmothers had a huge influence in my life, taught me how to cook. So everything about our home growing up was very diverse and multiracial and multicultural. But how people saw me, I noticed, was not necessarily that. How I spoke, how I carried myself, I guess, I don't know, was, I think, maybe just confusing to some people, or they just didn't know what box to put me in. And so I felt quite compelled to get incredibly involved with things like the Black Student Union in my high school and in my college. And I was the president of the Black Student Union at my undergrad at Oberlin, and president of the Black Musicians Guild. I pledged AKA, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. And so really making that a bigger part of my identity became important to me.
Yeah.
Also being an opera singer and studying classical music and classical singing versus R&B or gospel, which were considered the more Black types of singing.
Yeah.
And then explaining to people, no, but look at Leontine Price, look at Jesse Norman, Kathleen Battle, all these people, Grace Bunbury, these people who had inspired me growing up. So I would say identity, finding where I fit while also choosing to be in the middle and not shying away from that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, it does.
Became a really big, important part of my journey growing up and coming out and just being in this world and existing. I studied sociology and law in my undergrad, as well as vocal performance. And I got degrees in both things. And then really made a bet with myself my last year of undergraduate that said, if I get into one of these two top graduate schools for opera, that's the road I'm going to go down. If I don't, and if I have not made my Metropolitan Opera debut by the time I'm 25, I'm going to go to law school. Well, a year and a half later, I was at the Metropolitan Opera. I had won their big international competition and our national competition, and at the age of 23. And so career-wise, So career-wise, sort of, the rest is history. And I set off on a very fast trajectory of, paving my way and in the opera world. And any professional artist's career, I will say, whether it's singing, acting, dancing, being a comedian, anything that's performing like that, any artist will tell you this is how career
ebbs and flows.
It ebbs and flows. And I always say, as long as the up and down is always going up, even if there are dips, if you eventually still keep going, then you're a success. And so, I've been singing professionally now for 25 years. And additionally have been I've modeled, I've been on Broadway, I've done some television and film. And so I've had a really diverse and awesome career. And I feel incredibly blessed to be able to do something that I love every day and hopefully bring some sort of joy and peace and reflection, is something you had mentioned earlier, to people when they come and sit down in a theater, in an opera house or a concert hall, and get to see me and hear me on stage deliver a performance, that for that hour and a half or 2 hours that they can escape and really feel something. And I feel really lucky to get to do that. And to be able to give back to people in that way. And I also am really big into philanthropy. I'm also the executive director right now of the Black Leadership Arts Collective, which is composed of the eight of some of the top Black opera singers in the world. And we provide mentorship and scholarship opportunities for the next generation of young Black opera singers, as well as provide performance opportunities for everybody in our Black operatic community and for these young artists. And I've been with them now as their executive director for just under a year, and I love it. And I love, it's sort of a full circle, going back to what I told you, how like in high school and college, I was part of the Black Student Union, Black Musicians Guild. And then now 25, years later, here I am being able to have my career, but also to be able to channel that desire to give back to my community, and to a very specific community that needs that mentorship and scholarship. So that's sort of, I don't know if that was too long, but that's
no, that was perfect.
That's
I appreciate you giving us that. I don't know if anyone's ever told you, it's easy to listen to you.
Oh,
like I found myself just sitting there, just like, wow, like it's really easy to listen to you. Like maybe I'm just intrigued, but it generally was really easy to listen to you, just kind of hear you, because I think you have a vivaciousness and an energy that's kind of catching. Like when you're excited about something, your eyes tell us that you're excited about it. So listening to you is actually quite interesting, and I was like, oh, I'm actually intrigued.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's right. It's right. Truth is always free, as I said. I think within that, what captured me within what you were saying is, like you were saying, I think, of course, my background too is I'm from Britain, but obviously my parents from Ghana. So in the 90s, trying to find out where we stood was also awkward, because being an African in Britain was not necessarily considered to be the most pleasant thing. You can call it that, right? Because it's more the Caribbeans who had a lead on us, and they were the ones that were considered cool or whatever. So we were trying to find our footing in that space. So what really intrigued me when you were sharing what you shared was being where you grew up, and having to navigate racial politics in terms of just even identifying, and having to explain to people, I think that was quite intriguing. How did you handle, and I know you given a little bit of an example, but how did you handle growing up knowing that you had two sides you have to almost balance? And without kind of having to almost like feel like you have to choose in a sense.
It's a great question. First of all, actually, my grandmother is from Ghana, I should say.
Oh,
yes.
Come on. Yeah. See, that's why I knew I liked listening to you. I knew there was an energy.
Yes, she's from Ghana, and then her family came over to Guyana, and then, that's where my father's family was born and raised. So it's really interesting. I did not learn or feel difference within my home. I did not feel a pressure to choose, or like there was any hierarchy or need to pick one or the other within the Cambridge household. As I mentioned, both of my grandmothers came and lived with us for quite some time, when my brother and I were, babies, and helped raise us. And, it's a grandmother from Denmark, and it's a grandmother from Ghana and Guyana. And they were present, very present in our home. It was really the outside world and the outside community that taught me about prejudice, that taught me about being different, or told me that I should choose. I never felt that from my parents. And, I'm so grateful to them for that. And I remember in 4th grade, how old are you in 4th grade? Like 9, maybe 8 or 9 years old, maybe 10, 8, 9, somewhere in there. And I remember a young girl in my class called me the N-word. And the only reason that I knew that that was a bad word for Black people was because I had seen it on some like sitcom. And it was one of those like dramatic episodes where one of the boys gets called that name, and he goes home and tells his father what happened. And that's how I learned, oh, that word is a bad person. That's a bad name to call a Black person, right? And I remember that instead of me crying or getting upset with this girl, I sort of stood there quite stoically. And I said, what did you call me? Like, I dare you to say that again. And she knew instantly she shouldn't have said that. She was suspended from school. But I remember coming home and telling my parents about it, and them telling me a story about how when they had gotten married, on your marriage certificate, you had to, I guess back in the day, I don't know if you still have to do this, you had to write what your race was.
Yeah.
And they wrote human.
Mm.
And I thought, isn't that something? Isn't that something? And then as I continued to grow up and there were these different teachable moments or moments where I would experience prejudice, them sort of imparting different bits of knowledge and storytelling about what they had experienced as a couple in the 60s and in the 70s, and how they had lost friends because of their relationship, people who did not approve, and how they persevered and how they endured. And so here I am, obviously a generation later, I'm their daughter, and my brother. And it really was just sort of inspiring, being like, okay, well, if they could do it as a dark-skinned Black man and as a blonde white woman in America in the 60s and 70s and push on through, then I, as their daughter, I'm also going to push on through and figure this thing out. And I'm not going to let the people who are confused or uncomfortable with how I look or how I speak or the food I eat or the places that I go with my family or whatever, I'm not going to let that deter me from being a strong and confident person. I will also say that something that was instilled within our family was the importance of education, being valued based off of your brain and your personality and your talents, not about surface things. So it's so interesting because, what most kids go through awkward phases, right?
Yes, of course. It's a natural progression of life.
It's natural progression. It's natural progression, And so I went through my phase of, bad skin and braces and glasses and a little chubby and all that kind of stuff. And later on in life, I did beauty pageants, and as I mentioned, I modeled for quite some time, and people saying, oh, you must have always sort of been that way. And I'm like, no. I went through an awkward phase like everybody else, but where I got my confidence from had nothing to do with how I looked. It had all to do with the fact that I was told to value myself for what's in here. And, oh, Alyson, she's funny. Like, or she's good at soccer. Like, those were the things that I found that gave me confidence frankly, from a pretty young age. And so any prejudice or whatever that I got from classmates, I don't know, I just had something else internally within me that kept me going sort of no matter what.
I appreciate you sharing that, because I know it's quite a sticky conversation because, of course, identity politics is a major thing then as it is now. Right. And not all of us on all sides, have done well to be able to hold space for people, and it becomes very difficult, and even just really tap in with yourself as well. Like, as I said, coming from a immigrant background, if you're coming into UK from Africa to UK, you mentioned about being black enough, and it's funny because obviously being even African, even if you look black in that time, you were black, but you were an other. So right. I can understand really when you're saying about almost having to prove that you are a part of the crew, right? Or a part of the Black Quartet, you know what I mean? Like, and that in itself is its own difficulties because you're trying to find your footing, you know what I mean? And because you already know where you come from, you know what you've been taught. Yes. You make a really excellent point. And I think this is something that I definitely felt, that there was a difference, or I felt a difference between coming from a Black immigrant family from the Caribbean. So my Blackness that I knew that I lived with was my Caribbean-ness, right? Which is different than the lived generational African-American experience, right? So even though how the world may perceive us and treat us because we are Black people living in America, my history, my family's history is Caribbean. And it's from my dad's perspective, having come over to America when he was 19, right? And he's coming from a different culture. He's not coming from Black American culture. However, now we are part of Black American culture. So that is what shapes us moving forward. So I totally understand what you mean. It's negotiating the difference. Yes. And that in itself is its own skill and its own art that you pick up as you go through life. It is. And you find your way. So I definitely understand that. I guess obviously then, going through that and then, get into a more stable place, like you said, in terms of identity. You like I said, you're an opera singer. Is that how you define it? Opera singer? Love it. Was that always the dream as a young individual? I know that obviously that opera singer is where you've landed, and you've always said that at a certain point it was that or law, and if it worked out. But from young Alyson, right, tiny Alyson, running around Alyson, is that the dream? Was that the dream to be an opera singer?
In a word, no, because I didn't think opera was cool.
I understand.
Right. If I was going to do anything with respect to being a singer, I definitely thought I wanted to be more of like a pop singer, right? I was absolutely obsessed with Whitney Houston and Madonna. Like those are and there was a singer called Tiffany back in the day. And so that's kind of what I wanted to do. And that's what I listened to. But then I could imitate any voice and any type of singing that I heard on the radio from a very young age. And I used to imitate opera singers to make my friends laugh, like just as a joke, just to be funny. And one of my mother's friends, she was a neighbor, she overheard me one day. She was like, Alyson, I know you're doing this as a joke, but it's kind of good. maybe you should maybe you should take some voice lessons. And yeah, I went to my very first voice lesson when I was 12 years old. I sang for
Wow.
the teacher and she said, nope, no, not pop. She was like, you have a natural ability,
Gift.
natural gift for opera. And I really want to train you classically. And so that was the road that I went down. And it took me a while to be sort of confident sharing that side of me with my like high school and, you know, classmates and stuff. But when I did, man, they were so receptive. They were just like, what? And they're like, can you break glass if you sing a high note? And like, you know, I was like, okay, all right. They didn't boo me off the stage. All right. I guess opera can be cool.
So going into, obviously from 12, that's really young actually. So that's quite
Very
early on that you were trained into that aspect as well then. So going into opera singing, being trained in that area, as you said, you know, you had your own apprehensions about being able to share it with other people as well on that journey. And then again, obviously, like, you know, which you really highlighted earlier on as well, which I think is fascinating because I didn't find myself comfortable with classic music until I was probably like 25, right? So, you know what I mean? I didn't necessarily listen to it. And it was actually a woman that got me involved into it. So, you know, some of us weren't listening to it. We were listening to pop, like you were saying.
Yeah.
For you then, coming to a place where you're a bit more confident, you can share it with people, and then you can start to see a pathway opening up for you. Where you are now, did you envisage that this would be the life you would lead? Like, I know you were now singing, you were now trained in it,
Right.
but where you were then, and then you're looking at yourself now and how much you've achieved. Like, you've sung at Royal Albert Hall, you know, you've sung in DC, sung in New York, in major places. When you were young, did you see the vision being like, right, that's where I would be? That's the pinnacle, if you want to call it that, in that sense? Or are you living a dream that's far exceeding what you always thought would be the case?
It's a really good question. I think to answer the question about the specificity of where I thought I might be singing wise, no, I don't think I saw that or knew that for myself. I will say I always knew, and I always had a feeling I was going to be very successful at whatever it was that I put my mind to. And even when I remember being in New York. It was my first year living here, so I had won a lot of big vocal competitions within 1 year. And I found myself living in New York at the age of 23 in this lovely apartment and, you know, going to work every day at the Metropolitan Opera. And I was breaking up with a boyfriend around that time. And I remember distinctly thinking, Alyson, you had no idea that you were going to be here a year ago. You thought you might still be going to law school. And I kind of thought, oh, I'm going to be the most amazing prosecuting attorney having to do with women's rights. That's what I wanted to focus on. And I knew I would have been great at that. I just knew. But I found myself, I had this moment of like, but here you are doing this other thing. And it really did happen. So even though I'd gone to school for it, I'd worked very hard, it felt like it all happened really fast for me in terms of the singing. And things just really picked up. And it doesn't, I mean, even though I've been doing it for such a long time, I still have those moments, those pinch me moments where it's like, look at where I am. Look at what I get to do. Look at the cool places that I've gotten to sing, the people that I've gotten to sing for, you know, 3 presidents.
Wow.
You know, I remember singing, for Obama. And then we were, you know, I'm at the White House and you know, at a cocktail party with all these other wonderful people. I'm like, what is my life? What is my life? And I still have those moments. I'm so grateful. I'm so, so grateful. I don't take any of it for granted. So did I have a specific idea of, oh, I'm going to be singing at Carnegie Hall, or I'm going to be singing here? No, not necessarily. But I guess like sort of failure or not being great, which has never really been an option for me. That's just not how my brain works. So I work very hard, but I'm extremely grateful for everything that I've had in my career.
I mean, I would say I can actually see you as a prosecutor. I can't lie to you. I mean, I can see you as somebody who's in law. I can see you as somebody who's working in law. I could see you as somebody that's in the legal team. You do look like someone who could do that as well. I can't lie. You do.
Maybe I'll have like a side hustle.
Hey, listen, maybe, you know, because you look like you got an eye for it. I can't lie. If you had said that was what you did as a job, I'd have been like, yeah, I can see that too. You know what I mean? So
the singing attorney.
Hey, listen, they might need some, whilst you're, you know, bringing people up, they may need contract signing, this music, you know, the two come into trade, you know?
Yeah.
So, definitely. Someone said it's entertainment attorney. Exactly. There you go.
Yes.
And that could be it for you. Okay, cool. And I think like I mean, first of all, congratulations and well done, because singing for 3 presidents is an amazing feat and should never be downplayed, because that is, as I said before, and I think I said to you behind the scenes, there's pinnacles and there's pinnacles. When people reach the pinnacle, you know, and you've met someone who has done it all and has reached a place where their skill mastery, it's, for me, I'm listening to you and I'm just taking you in. I'm like, wow, like, because I know the dedication it takes to get to that level, the sacrifices one makes to get to that level as well. So it's beautiful to see. And you also have these really interesting moments, body language wise. When I ask you a question about your singing, you have this pause that you look into the sky. It's like you're remembering, and it's powerful. It's really instant to see, like you're able to look back at those moments with fondness in the way you describe it, you know?
Very much so. Very much so. Because there have been just so many moments. And, you know, as a performer, and all of my friends and family sort of, they know this about me at this point, I'm so laser focused prior to a show. Certainly the weeks leading up to, before I start rehearsal.
Yeah.
Then when I'm in the rehearsal process, and then on like the night before a show and the day of, I have such a strict routine, and I'm just focus. And then it's after, and I see, you know, my friends and family or whatever, after the show is over and I get to sort of come down from the performance. It's in those moments when I'm like, oh yeah, I did it. It was fun. And all these people that love me loved it too. And we get to share in this moment together. But it's like this, I mean, I'm so really focus. But you've got to take the moments to enjoy and appreciate. Otherwise, why are we doing it, right?
Yeah.
And I did have those moments. I have had those moments when I've thought, is this worth it? I've missed weddings. I've missed graduations. I've missed, you know, births of, you know, my nieces. I've missed so many life moments because I'm contracted. I have a gig, I have a concert, I have an opera, and I have to go when and where the work calls me.
Yeah.
And there are some things that I have missed that I've regretted. I'm like, man, I wish I had done that other thing instead. But in the moment, you're so worried, at least early in my career.
Yeah. You think about establishing yourself.
Right. I never felt like I could say no. And because I was so concerned with being perfect all the time, I did not give myself nearly enough time to relax, to socialize, to just breathe sometimes. And I mean, I quite literally made myself sick. You know, I found myself literally getting, having like vocal issues. And this is like the first couple of years I was in New York. And then I gave myself a break. I went on a vacation after a really long summer. And I came back. I had not focused on my singing at all. I was at the beach. I was with my partner at the time. We drank margaritas. We had a grand old time. And wouldn't you know, I came back to New York and my voice was perfect. And I was like, okay, some of this is, what is the word? Psychosomatic?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I have since then really figured out a work-life balance. So I'll be in that hardcore studying my music, practicing every day, I'll be in that mode for a while. And then when I'm done, I give myself like a week to really chill out. Yep, I can go out with my friends, go out to dinner. I can have a few cocktails and just, it's okay, Alyson, to breathe.
Why couldn't you breathe? Why were you, where does that come from that you're so laser focused? What is the motivation behind that kind of mentality? Because it's obviously made you successful, but what's driving that?
Well, I think so with opera singing specifically, there's no microphones, there's no auto-tune, it's not like any other singing medium. It's all us. Our body is the instrument. These vocal cords, they're us. When we step foot on stage and start singing, there's nothing that can alter it. So we have to be in perfect health. It's like being an athlete. It really is like being an athlete, and you have to train. So somebody can't just say, okay, Alyson, we're going to hire you, tomorrow, get on stage and sing La Boheme. Yes, sometimes that does happen. But you've had to prepare for it. And in the beginning of my career, I was constantly learning new music, constantly learning all these new roles. Now, of course, I have all of them under my belt. And I probably could roll out of bed and sing a Tolstoy tomorrow. But in the beginning, it's lots of studying and learning, just a lot of learning. And I never wanted to disappoint. I just always wanted to be the best that I could. So sometimes I practiced too much. Sometimes I stressed too much. But all those things, I think probably with any career, comes with time and experience.
Yeah.
And maturity. And so I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot in these 25 years of my career.
Well, first of all, again, congratulations on 25 years. It is not an easy feat. And we appreciate the greatness that you've brought to the opera world, because everybody who meets at that level is bringing something unique and something different. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that.
That's all right. I have a question.
Yes.
You said a keyword. You said, might have some regrets. You said sacrifices. You've said you've had to really, fight for what is yours, right? You've got the gift, you've got the talent, and you fight to make sure that you're stretching your gift so you're at the top of the top of the table. How does that then impact you in terms of dating? Because at 23, you are moving to New York. You're starting to live your dream. You're starting to access a world that at 23, most of us men are not going to be on that level. Let's just be honest. So what was dating like for you then at that point, 23 going almost? What's dating like? Because I can imagine, I have my own thought process of what it would be like, but I would love to know from your perspective, bring us into your world. What was dating like for you?
Yeah. It was, so I should say pretty much from age 22 to 36, I was always in a relationship. Always. Oh. Yeah. And it was sort of one serious relationship after the next. And my boyfriend when I was 23. We were together for, I don't know, maybe 3 years or so. But was another singer, which
not easy.
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
I think it works well for some people. You know, you hear about like actors that are married to each other. I think there's something to be said about understanding and empathizing and sympathizing with the other your partner's industry, because you know. I also think it's really easy for jealousy and competitiveness to come into play, especially at that young age. And so when I had met that boyfriend, we were both just starting out in grad school together. And then I was gone by the end of that year. I didn't even finish because I won this competition and moved to New York.
Oh, wow.
And so when we first met, we were on the same playing field.
Trajectory, yeah.
You know? And then a year later, I'm living in New York City and singing on the stage of the biggest opera house in the world, right? And getting just sort of a lot of different attention and pushed and pulled in different directions, all of which I knew that he was happy for me. He was totally happy and supportive of me. But there were moments when I felt, when it was just difficult,
Unsupported. Do you feel supported?
I felt supported. I definitely felt supported, but I also felt that there was a sense of a bit of, I don't even want to say jealousy, but
tension.
But like, what about me? When's my turn?
Turn coming. I get it. Yeah.
Which is an understandable thing, right? And I was always so supportive and encouraging of him because I always wanted the best for him, and I thought he was incredibly talented. But that was tough. The next relationship after that, we were also together for a very long time. I think about 3.5, almost 4 years. Not a singer, but a model and an actor. And we were talking about getting married, getting engaged. And I remember this pivotal conversation. He wanted to move to LA because that's where more
the work usually is.
Yeah, that's where his goals were going to be. And I remember him saying to me, all right, so what do you think about moving to LA? And I said, well, if we're really going to do this thing, let me, talk to my agent and see. And I remember my manager at the time said, Alyson, I don't think that's a great idea for you, for opera. And at this early stage in your career, it's really important for you to be more New York based and available for all of the auditions here.
Not easy.
Right. And I was still so like, but I want my boyfriend to pursue his dreams and we might get married and all that kind of stuff. And then he asked me one day, he said, what if we get to LA and I can't get an agent right away? What then? He said, would you be okay if we were like couch surfing until I can like book some gigs or find an agent? And at this point, I was 26, living in a lovely one-bedroom apartment in a nice neighborhood in New York City, something I'd worked very hard to get there to that point. And I just said, I don't want that for myself. And it's, and I said, and it's not that I want to discourage you from you pursuing your dreams at any means, any cost necessary, but I don't want to take a step back in terms of how I live.
Yeah. Safety too. Safety too as well. If you put yourself in safety as well.
Yeah. And I remember asking if he would consider, maybe getting a part-time job or doing something else so that we could, afford as a couple something that would make sense. And he took that questioning, I remember distinctly, as me not believing in him as an actor. And I said, no, it's not that at all. It's not that at all. I just don't want to sleep on couches.
Yeah.
You know, I just
Which makes sense.
I just don't want that lifestyle. And then, you know, I was engaged after that to somebody else. I had a brief marriage. In a nutshell, yes, it's difficult. I think that even if somebody, at least this has been my experience, even if someone is outwardly supportive and encouraging of my career and of what I do, the reality of it can sometimes be a harsh reality, a harsh wake-up call.
Yeah.
So it's fun on one aspect to be like, oh, look at my fiance or my wife. Here she is on this billboard. But, oh, she's on the road all the time. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And I know that. I know that whomever I, you know, end up with, you know, if I get married again, it's just, and it goes both ways. It goes both ways. There's just going to have to be a real understanding of what a life together looks like when, you know, if he's a lawyer or if he's a doctor or, you know, if he's some sort of, you know, artist, performer, if he's an actor or something, and I'm still doing my career, there's just going to have to be a real understanding and conversation about like, what does that look like for us? How do we negotiate this where both people are happy?
Yep.
And
we can both win.
We're in the relationship and that both of our needs are being met.
Yeah, I can imagine that it's difficult, especially if you're on the road. I think for us as men, especially, it's not a usual position we're usually in, right? We expect, as men, we're expected that it's the other way around. We are going to be on road,
right?
You know. Did you find that also to be, because you know you mentioned obviously being on the road, was that something that you encountered too? That I know, because I know I'm a male. I'm just going to say to you, I'm not going to be honest. My brain is even thinking about it, like, wow, could I actually do that?
Yeah. So what do you think? How would you feel?
You know, I think maybe a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have been excited about it. I think now I'm understanding of it because I know what constitutes towards a real relationship. I don't need to always have you physically there, but what I do need is an emotional connection. And I think I didn't understand that at the time. I didn't understand what emotional connection actually is. I presumed that to be the same as a physical connection in terms of having you physically present with me. So I think that is where I suffered a lot in that space. But now I can be like, okay, no, there's other ways that I can connect with you. I don't have to be with you physically. I can call you. We can speak every day. That's the case. And you can be where you are. And when we meet and we go together, fantastic. We'll plan it. We have to be a bit more intentional. But it'll be much more easier because there's an emotional connection. I think that's something for me. But for yourself, did you find, was that a major difficulty in a lot of the relationships that you were in, that you being on the road or you having to be at the whim of your career and your dreams and aspirations? Was that oftentimes let's call it the anaconda of a relationship, the thing that strangled things and kind of brought it to a halt?
So I definitely learned some lessons with each relationship that I would bring sort of a major lesson. If you know what, this really didn't work with this one, so I'm going to make sure to fix that in the next one. For me, so I will say distance was definitely an issue in sort of those first 3 serious relationships in my 20s into my early 30s. I would go sometimes 2 months without physically seeing my partner. And then when I would see them, it was like seeing a stranger.
I understand.
Because, this is before there was like Zoom, before there was FaceTime. I mean, there was Skype eventually, but it just wasn't the same as like now you literally can FaceTime and whatever or Zoom like so easily. And I traveled internationally a lot. So you've also got the time difference. So that made things difficult. What I discovered worked for me, you know, until it didn't, but was I figured out I cannot go more than 2 weeks. So we have to physically be in each other's presence. No, we cannot go more than 2 weeks. That was the cutoff point where I started to feel distanced and not present. And so with my, you know, in my marriage, you know, for the better part of almost 4 years, we never went longer than 2 weeks without seeing each other. And that worked for us. So if I was in London or if I was in Paris and he was over here, if he had that weekend off and I couldn't leave because I was in a show, he was over there. And the same went for if he had to be somewhere and I had time off, I was on a plane and I was going to wherever he was. And that worked. That worked for a while for us.
Wow.
And I think, yeah.
I'm intrigued because the statement you made, you said after 2 weeks you felt it, which I think is intriguing. So you felt the distance.
Yes.
Oh.
Because my life is not normal when I'm away, when I'm working. So I'm sure, again, actors, dancers, people on Broadway will tell you this. When you start a show, when you start a rehearsal process, you are with those people in your cast.
Yeah.
Like 24/7.
24/7 is crazy. Yeah.
Day one, they might be strangers. By day 3, they're family.
Yeah.
Because that's who you're around.
Yeah.
And you don't have anybody else because we're all in the same boat, right? We're all in this thing together. So people have their significant others and friends and family not there. The only people that they know and that they're seeing are these people that are in that show with you. So you become this little family. And you're in this little bubble.
Yeah.
And if you're not experiencing that with your significant other and they can't relate,
you're in trouble.
You know, I would notice I'd be, you know, maybe day 3 or day 4 of a rehearsal process. And I'd be on the phone. I'm like, oh, and, you know, Susie did this and Joe did this and Bob did that. And like the person on the other line is like, but I don't know these people. It's all very real and present for you, Alyson.
Yeah.
But I can't really relate because I don't know these people. And so that's when the distance
starts
to creep in. So it's important, it was for me at least, for then my partner to come visit. Oh, this is who she's talking about. Oh, these are the people that she's spending every single day and night with. And it becomes a point of connection. And even if it's only for a couple of days, it makes a difference.
Yeah. It really breaks you out of that. Yeah. It's intriguing because I remember I did a play years ago, it's probably like 2018. I did a play and we literally, it was after work, we had to do rehearsal. So every day for 5 days, we're rehearsing 2 hours. And that's a small amount. So that's not even close to what you're doing, right? And I remember I had a girlfriend at the time and I said to the casting director, because I had to have a female companion as a character. And I said to him, bro, my character cannot kiss that woman. I told him to take it out.
Why?
Because you start to lose yourself. When you're playing an act, when you're acting, the time that you're spending with those people, like you said, you do become like family. But because now they have become your reality, so they've become your whole world, right? You guys, though you're playing a character, you're still you, but it's like almost confusion. The boundaries this is why they have to do debriefs after they do the acting. But you know, you get lost in that character. And it's almost as if it's like the film Inception. You don't know I don't want to say you don't know, but you almost lose yourself to what's real, what's not real. So I was starting to see that, okay, hold on a minute. Yo, this is actually a little bit scary. I said, where's that line? Because what part of my acting and what part of me is actually really interacting with this person?
Right.
And so when you said about having a partner come over, it felt like what you were saying is almost having a circuit breaker. It just needs to break some of that reality that's not real, but is real. And it's kind of shifting you back to, hey, I've got a real life out of this. Let me get lost. You know what I mean? Let me not get lost. I hope that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. And look, I've seen it happen to so many of my colleagues.
Yeah, it's scary.
Many, so many. I personally, I'm trying to think, I've never, what they call it, a showmance, right? I never had showmances, probably because I was always with somebody, always had a partner. But no, I've seen so many of my colleagues fall into, I don't know if you call it a trap, but have that dynamic that you just described, where it's like, yeah, we're colleagues, we're doing our job, we have this, you know, love scene or this moment where we have to kiss, or just in general, we're interacting with each other. And then we're a few weeks into the rehearsal process and you're noticing that people are getting a little close when we go out to dinner after rehearsal. Like, oh, okay.
Boundaries.
Time together. Then it's necessary. It happens all the time. And those lines do get blurred because you have this forced sense of intimacy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I remember doing a show. It was a Romeo and Juliet, and I was the Juliet. And I remember the Romeo's girlfriend. This is eons ago. He and I and a couple other members of the cast were spending a lot of time together because we genuinely just had fun. And again, I had a boyfriend at the time. But the Romeo, I remember we both loved rollerblading. So like we would just do like fun activities together. Again, totally platonic. But I remember his girlfriend eventually showing up and just, man, giving me the cold shoulder, just being like, I do not want you hanging out with the Juliet. No more rollerblading with her. And so, yeah, so jealousy happens. Yeah.
It makes sense. Because I think because obviously like we're talking about relationships and how relationships are actually formed and built. They're actually built on experiences as well. So the funny thing is that when you are with colleagues, when you're doing the acting, the singing, and you're spending a lot of time together, like you said, the actual rehearsals might not necessarily be the one that takes you there, but like, it's natural. We go out after, we all chill, we all talk. And then what tends to happen, like you said, you might have a common activity. I like football, maybe, or soccer, and you like soccer, and we go and watch a game. And it's not, at first, it really isn't anything. But when you look at it in a bigger picture, you start to recognize that actually a lot of your intimate moments emotionally that are happening in terms of experiences, not necessarily anything crazy, but it starts to add up.
Yes.
And then your partner's not doing those things, not because they're bad, but because you're having to spend a lot of time with those people. So naturally,
that's what happens. That's how it happens. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, talking about showmances, you were on a show.
I was.
You were on a show. You know what I mean? You were on a show, King's Court, season 1. And, there was Tyson, there was Carlos, and there was Thaddeus. I want to know, what took you on to King's Court? Like, what was happening for you that you decided to embrace this opportunity to go on a show like this?
It's a great question. So I basically got a notification about the show June of last year. Came across in an email, and sort of what they were describing that they were looking for this show. And I think I mentioned I have also television agents as well. And so I'm part of basically like a mailing list database, right? So I get these casting notices. Anyway, so I saw it and I thought, this is interesting. They're specifically looking for women of a certain age demographic who are successful, sophisticated, and accomplished, which I thought was a very rare thing to see for a reality dating show. And fast forward to right before it was my sort of final interview, I'll say. And again, I didn't know the specifics necessarily of what I was going to be getting into, but I was asked a question about like, so Alyson, why would you consider doing this? You know, you seem to have a good head on your shoulders, and just like your life seems very in order. Why would you put yourself up for something like this? And the truth is, just less than a year prior, I had been in a major, major, major bicycling accident where I was just lucky to have survived, period, and which resulted in 3 major surgeries on my arms. And my left shoulder is completely made of metal right now, and my right hand and wrist is also all metal. And I don't want to say I'm handicapped, but I do have major limitations now with my left arm. It goes only so far. And that accident and spending about 3 months in and out of a hospital in the summer of 2023, on heavy medications for about 6-7 months, major physical therapy for a year. It just really changed my perspective on life. And just that realization that you only have one life. Every doctor kept impressing upon me how lucky I was to be alive, period. They kept saying, Alyson, we have never seen a shoulder injury, a shoulder as destroyed as this is. Like, it's a miracle that your helmet stayed intact. I'm so lucky that my brother was with me on that bike ride and found me in that ditch that day. All that to say, when this opportunity came about, that was my reason. It was, you know what? I happen to have the next month and a half free. I don't have an opera or a symphony engagement, which is very rare for me to have such a big sort of chunk in my schedule free. I happened to be single at the time. Although I still did not physically look the way I usually had looked, because again, I couldn't really work out, obviously, for like almost 9 months, then all this medications. I just physically was a bit, and I see it, you know, when I watch back the show now a year later, I'm like, oh my gosh, my face is chubby. You know, just like little things that I notice, I know about myself. My scars were still very fresh. I just thought, put yourself out there, Alyson, just do it. You've got to sort of break the seal at some point. You know, there are always going to be things about yourself, either physical limitations or scars or what have you. But you're going to have to face the music at some point. And so that's why I did it. And everything that we just talked about in terms of what I've experienced professionally with relationships, there was a big part of me that thought, hey, I have no idea who these celebrity guys are, no clue. But just maybe they might have a good understanding of my job and will respect it and appreciate it. And it won't be such a turnoff or a hindrance or an intimidation factor. Maybe one of these celebrity guys would be like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, she gets it. We get it. Okay. Yeah. So that's why I said yes. That's why I decided to give this process, this experiment in dating, a shot.
Wow. And it's quite a, I say quite, but it is a deep, profound reasoning. As you know, being that close to call it, that's what, being close to death.
Yeah.
And then having to, come through that as well. Wow. Okay. So taking that on board, you've gone through major event in your life that has changed your viewpoint, I'm guessing, on life, and changed the way you saw it as well. It's an opportunity now to, take on life in a different way, right? So we go on the show King's Court. They obviously say they're looking for a particular lady, and it sounds like your description. I can't lie. When you described that, I said, yeah, that's Alyson. Absolutely. So that sets an expectation. So before, I guess I'll get into expectation of what you expected when you joined to what you got at the end. Was the expectation matching?
I will say, okay, so again, not knowing anything about the three guys before, I stepped foot on set, that my very first day, the perfect match date or whatever. I will say the ladies did all fit that description. It was an incredible group of women, all very, successful in their respective fields, all carried themselves, in a nice way. And so I felt that part was accurate. I just didn't know what to expect with the gentleman. I really didn't. But I thought they all individually had great and appealing qualities to them. And my approach in general was to just be open to see where the process and where it all took me. I just remained open the whole time.
So you came through obviously the matchmaker, you know what I mean? So shout out to the matchmaker. And were you aware of, before they announced it, I guess when we see it, like this, the matchmaker says it to the group, were you aware of who your match would be before they announced it to the group?
No, I had no idea.
Oh.
No, I had no idea. So when you see the guys walk through that door in that sort of bar lounge area where the three ladies, where we were all seated, I was at the far end of the bar, and it was Jennifer first, then Kalia, and then I was the third one at the rear. So when they walked through that door that was the closest to Jennifer, that was the first time that I saw them, knew who they were, anything.
Oh.
And then, yes. And so then the three of them came around and introduced themselves. And then we did the sort of round robin speed dating portion of it. And we had maybe 30 minutes, I guess, with each of the gentlemen. But in each conversation, I did not know. So when I met Thaddeus, I did not know, could he be my perfect match? I had no idea. Then Carlos, then Tyson. So with each interaction and conversation, I was just genuinely interested to get to know them a little bit, see if there was any sort of a chemistry, what our vibe was. And then it wasn't until we sat down at that dinner table with our steaks and whatnot, and we and guys had to guess. No, we didn't know. We didn't know.
Who, for you, did you feel like you were the best match for? I know they matched you with Tyson, but who do you feel was the best match for you, having spoken to the gentleman?
So I will say this, and I've said it to them. I would say energy-wise, just purely energy, sort of maturity-wise, I thought Carlos. I just thought he was very even-keeled.
Yeah.
Just a calm and mature energy. And again, knowing how I am, that's, even though I'm like fun and energetic, I would say my state of and way of being, like, it takes a lot to ruffle my feathers. And so I kind of thought that would be a good energy match. And by the way, I'm so happy for Carlos and Janae.
Oh, yes.
I'm so happy for them, and I adore them. I've said this before. I adore them individually and as a couple. And in those sort of last episodes, even when there was an episode where I get called to the elimination dinner, and I don't think they showed it. I don't believe so. But, Carlos and I just sit outside for a moment, and he and I are chatting. And I told him, I was like, I'm just so happy for you and Janae, and that how much I'd gotten happy to have gotten to know both of them, and that if they make it down the aisle, that I'm going to be their wedding singer. So
that's right.
But then, like, with respect to Tyson, Thaddeus, I should say, thought he was just so hilarious. And our energy was just very fun, sarcastic, very buddy friendship vibes, lots of joking around. And we were joking around that whole night. And then with Tyson, energy wise, he just felt very distracted.
My boy was distracted, I know.
He just seemed really distracted and a bit anxious.
Yeah.
But when we did talk, when we could get around the distraction, it was very apparent that we had so much in common.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a total surprise that we'd been matched on paper. But energy wise, no, I didn't see it. I didn't see it, didn't feel it. We got along. And, we conversed, but very much as friends, very platonic in the house. And, I mean, I said it in that episode. I was very taken aback and surprised when he was like, no, but I've noticed you and I look at you in this other way. I was like, really?
Because you ain't been giving me that energy, Tyson.
I was like, you giving me none of that. And I'm not you. So what are we talking about here? But yeah, so that was my initial takeaway on each of the guys when we first met.
Understandable. I mean, when I watched it, I didn't think it was gonna work, if I'm honest. I didn't see it. I don't know. I think, with Tyson, he's very, I can see it from you guys being your career wise, you guys, him being a professional as a model, almost entertainer as well. And then you obviously being an opera singer, I could see that aspect. Yes. But I think the way that he moves and his energy and how he likes his particular woman, I was like, I don't know if he's going to work with Alyson. I don't know. Because like I said, you gave him a very, and I think the right word you use for Carlos is, I would also use for yourself as well. Although you can be excitable, I think there is an even kill about yourself as well. So I didn't see, I know they say opposites attract, but in this scenario, I didn't necessarily see that working. I think that's where Tyson also is in his life right now. Maybe in a couple of years' time, he'd have chilled down. He might have a bit more even kill. But I think right now, he's like a happy bunny rabbit. So he's enjoying himself.
He is. And here's the thing, like, everybody has their own preferences and whatnot. And like, I'm not here to judge. And if that is the season of life in which he is in, that, is bunny rabbit, as you call, if that's his vibe, then that's his vibe. It was just, it's not for me. Not for him. And that's fine. It's so interesting. There was one day we were talking about like motorcycle. It's just so funny because he'd mentioned, I think he has people in the military in his family. He had thought about potentially going into the military. He rides motorcycles. And then all this other stuff. It's so interesting because I had dated somebody actually during the pandemic who had been in the military, rode motorcycles, sports cars, like, yes, all that stuff, but completely opposite of Tyson in terms of energy. He was just very like calm, cool, collected, a bit mysterious, whereas Tyson is very, very excited, very energized, very energized. I
got you, don't worry.
Huh?
I said I got you, I understand, don't worry, I got you.
Yeah. So Yeah. No.
How did you navigate then from following from that? Because obviously they've said you're matchmaking, right? They said that that's the one that you're meant to be with. I say be with, but the one you best match with.
Yeah.
And then Tyson kind of saying, yeah, no, well, let's see where it goes. Let's see where it goes. What was the connection like then from there on outwards for you guys? Were you guys able to connect from there? Were you able to, when I say connect, I mean, did you feel like there could have been a genuine connection? Was there potential to get deeper? Was there opportunities for you guys to really develop a bond?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you saw obviously just a couple of our conversations. We talked about my accident, and then he was talking about he knows people who rode motorcycles who also struggle to have that confidence and courage to get back on a bike, and our scars. And we had actually quite a few conversations like that about different topics. We've worked with a lot of the same people. We have some friends in common. We talked about being sort of in the industry. We talked about him growing up in Jamaica. And I would talk about me spending my summers in Barbados. I remember us having a conversation about catching lizards and geckos and talking about how we would make the lizard catchers from the palm leaves, from like the stems of the palm leaves. There was a day, I remember there was like a bee that had like landed on my hat. I think it was maybe scavenger hunt day. And I was absolutely like freaking out because I'm really afraid of bugs. And I remember Tyson being very just sort of like gentle and being like, okay, Alyson, I'm going to take care of this. There were little moments like that. Little conversations like that, where I remember saying to some of the other women, Dr. Clea and I were quite close. And Jennifer, I remember saying, I wish Tyson would show more of that. Because I think that's the real Tyson.
Yeah.
Who actually has a sweet, almost little boyish side.
Yeah.
Who does care about people, who does know how to show care and vulnerability and be real. But I think the Tyson that was shown on the show and that he put out, frankly, more, was the person that really likes attention and really likes to be recognized for his surface or for his accomplishments, not that they're surface, but
the character.
Yeah, instead of being recognized for who he is at his core, hey, my sunglass line came out today, or hey, my this came out today. And yeah, we all have jobs and careers and wonderful accomplishments, but I'm not dating you because of your hat line. I'm not dating you because of your new sunglass line. I would be dating you based off of the character and the personality that you're showing to me. And so me just as an observer, not even as like a contestant or whatever on the show, just as an observer, I would think like, I would get frustrated. I'm like, Tyson, show that more. Show that part of you more. Be more vulnerable. Have more of those conversations. Or talk about our dogs, right? Because I'm such a dog person. I had my girl Lucy, who's like behind me in that picture, for 13 years. And he and I had and he was a dog person. And that was the Tyson I would have liked to have gotten to know more. And the Tyson that I thought prior to our sort of altercation thing about Gym Girl, I thought, oh, we're going to be friends after this process is over. There's no reason we wouldn't. And we had talked about, oh, if he comes to New York, hey, we'll go do this, that, as friends. And yeah, it was just very disappointing that whole thing in the end sort of ended the way that it did. And for me, just the respect and trust was gone.
It's gone, yeah.
For me.
Within that space, obviously, like I said, you know, I think you mentioned something key, the character or the facade, you know, trying to get beyond that to get to the core of that individual person as well. How did you find, obviously, then navigating, dealing with Tyson or trying to get closer to Tyson whilst also having simultaneously the ladies also trying to get closer to Tyson? Because I'm sure you was aware, obviously. I don't know actually, because it's camera shows us that the connection between him and Felicia very, very close, very, very touchy, very, very tactile,
Right.
in that space, and almost territorial in some sense on both parts, because they both hold each other space. How did you navigate that then? Because you're trying to get close, but then if you are seeing that, how does one really be able to purport themselves in that scenario to be able to get closer to someone when we're seeing all of that happening?
Right. So I will just say, yes, I am there for a long part of the process, and I'm there pretty much until the end, in theory, hoping or thinking there's a possibility of potentially forging a romantic relationship. I knew, and I do say it throughout the show in my testimonials and confessionals or whatever, I knew from pretty much day one there was not going to be a romantic connection with Tyson. I knew that. And because of that, I think you see me have a really good and just very easy relationship with all of the women in the house, because I don't think anybody legitimately saw me as competition for Tyson, because I also didn't carry myself in that way. I was never sort of seeking him out to have sort of like potential intimate moments. That's not how I moved in the house. And it's an energy that I felt like the night of the mixer, it was very clear that he was like, Jennifer, I want Jennifer. That was obvious. Clea and I saw it, we knew it. And then when we got into the house, it's like, oh, he already clearly has a very physical relationship with Felicia and Sarah. I saw it with my own eyeballs. Even if I had had a legitimate romantic interest in Tyson, I, just as Alyson Cambridge, I would not have proceeded in that sort of way.
Understood.
So yeah, it's just not in my nature, whether we're in this King's Court scenario or not. It just wouldn't be my way of necessarily like approaching a guy or showing interest. I wouldn't have been. But everybody has their own ways of moving and of getting to know people, and I throw no judgment or shade on any of the ladies. Yeah, no, he and Felicia had a really strong physical chemistry, and more power to him. I will say it didn't make me uncomfortable. That's just how they chose to relate. I just sort of chose to sit by and enjoy the scavenger hunt. And, you know, if they were booed up in the living room or something, we just looked the other way and keep, you know, mind my business.
That's all you can do.
That's all you can do.
Sip some tea and mind your business. That's all you can do.
That's it.
I actually hear that, because I think, like I said, I think you did state it quite early on that, you know, you kind of knew. And I think it speaks to something about relationships as well, that when people know, they know. And so anything other than that sometimes is a betrayal. So I totally understand you know that your thought process in that, and that I guess made it less pressure on you. It's like you knew what it was.
Yes.
You know?
No, it was much less pressure. And again, I remained open, because who knows? Again, this is such an unconventional scenario. So who knows? Could Tyson have woken up one day and just been like, you know what? I really like these deeper conversations that I'm having with Alyson. And, you know, or man, I see a different side of her. I'd like to get to know her better. Let me start to open up more and show more of real Tyson, not surface Tyson. Could that have happened? Sure, maybe. But it didn't. And I was just there enjoying my time with the ladies, enjoying my time with the guys, because we all had so much fun together. And the process ended and I exited in the time and in the manner in which I was happy with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming on to that incident, the gym situation. I didn't actually get to do a video on it, but when I watched it, obviously it was quite interesting to see Tyson's behavior. And that his next step was to almost want to quit. I mean, I knew he wasn't going to quit, but to almost quit. From your perspective, tell us what was going on in regards to that, because of course we see the edit. The edit is going to give an angle to the story, but from your perspective, from your words, from your angle, this gym situation that happened, this gym joke that apparently was said, take us through that. What actually happened? What did you hear? What did you witness as to why then it was brought up?
Yeah. So I woke up that morning much earlier than I typically do. And I don't know if you can tell from how it's shot, but the bedroom that I was in is right next to the kitchen. And my bed is right next to the door of the bedroom that opens immediately into the kitchen by the kitchen counter. So my head is it's like almost in the kitchen. And the guys would always go to the gym early every morning before sort of cameras were up and whatnot. And I woke up and I heard talking in the kitchen. And I heard, and I heard Tyson talking about a woman at the gym, that he was looking forward to seeing her, that he had met her, I don't know, in the second week, I guess. And then saying something about when this doesn't work out with the ladies in the house, that don't be surprised if the person he was talking to, if they see a car pulling up to pick him up, and it's going to be his girlfriend from the gym taking him away. And I know he says it's a joke. No one was laughing. Rather, I heard somebody saying, Tyson, stop that. Stop saying that. Stop talking about this person. So what I overheard was most definitely not a joke, even if he was saying it in a joking manner. It was very much based in truth.
Yeah.
I knew that. I'm a smart person and I know exactly what I heard, and I heard every word. So they didn't show this, but you see me talking to Kalia. It's because Kalia also woke up that morning and also heard a bit of the conversation. So I wasn't going around just talking really. No. Kalia had heard it too. And so, you see me in the morning joking with Jennifer, who did not know. And I make that joke of, oh my gosh, I'm curling my hair. I'm like, is it too early for shots? It was weighing on me so heavily that morning because, mind you, we'd been in that house now for almost 3 weeks to a month. It had been a long time. And I had seen him develop what at least seemed to the women to be real and close relationships. I knew Felicia cared about Tyson. I knew Felicia at that point was looking forward to and considering a real relationship with Tyson. I knew that Jennifer was really starting to explore that possibility. And then on top of it, there are women that had been there or who were still there, like Ariel, people who have children. There were people who had left their jobs. People, I think there was a couple of women who almost lost their jobs because they'd been away for so long. We all came into this process at least thinking that these guys would give this process a fair shot for at least 5-6 weeks?
Yep.
For 5-6 weeks, maybe you can focus on the task at hand. And so for me, I just was pissed. I thought it was just so disrespectful. It was way bigger than me because I didn't like him like that. I didn't have that relationship with him. No, but you are getting intimate with these other people, kissing on them thinking that they might have a chance. And you've got somebody outside there in Atlanta that you're flirting with. You can't even focus on the 21 women that have been in front of your face in a house for a month. That part is what really upset me on behalf of the other ladies. And so I felt uncomfortable all day long, sitting with that information and knowing that there was never really a perfect time to kind of pull him aside privately. Because, you know, you saw we all had those little couple interviews with Holly and Rodney that were going on all day. And I also, having seen his interactions with some of the other ladies in more tense times, even if I had tried to pull him aside, I think that conversation would have gone left. I think he would have reacted even more sort of in a more amplified way, shall we say. He tried to keep it together in front of Holly and Rodney because he respects Holly and Rodney. I think it would have gone quite differently had I approached him alone. And so we were outside of the house during that conversation with Holly and Rodney. And I was glad to sort of have them there as a
common force.
Yeah. Yeah. But you pointed out, you know, how he reacted. I think his reaction sort of says it all, right? If something like that were a joke, if somebody not accused me, but said, hey, this is, you know, and I said it was a joke, I would literally laugh it off. I wouldn't give a more extended explanation and then go on the defense. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, his reaction said it all.
No, and I definitely get that. I think it was it's interesting. Like I said, I think when people are not necessarily ready for commitment or ready to kind of give themselves over, the behaviors that follow usually are in alignment with that, right? They can become hurtful for other people because you are seemingly, not you, I'm talking about Tyson, but you are seemingly, the stakes are not the same for you as it is for someone else, because the stakes have increased for that person because they're actually thinking that you're ready to do this. But I think even myself, just kind of watching him through the whole entire season, you know, my biggest thing was that Tyson doesn't do commitment very easily, and two, he also sucks you into his world, right? And when you're in that world, it's a vortex. You know, this is a man who's famous for being a very good-looking man. He's magnetizing in his energy, his spirit. So as a woman, you're looking at that, and if he's thinking he's open, and the openness actually is, and I think I definitely mentioned this in my review, especially at the end for the ladies, that the physical touch is so heavy, and not recognizing that we're not emotionally connecting as we need to first to really understand who that person is. Sometimes we think we know someone because we have a parasocial relationship with them, right? So like people know me on YouTube, they think they know me, but you don't. You might feel more comfortable because you see me on screen, but you actually don't actually know me. So then you falsely vet me, and then you allow me in, like we have with Tyson, and actually you think we're getting that connection really and truly. It's very physical, it's very touchy, it's very sensual, which is beautiful when you have that in the confinement of there being some level of commitment, there being exploration on a deeper level emotionally, and really getting to grips with who this person is. And we didn't necessarily get to see that. So then, yes, when he does make the joke, quote unquote, to say, I'm going to put in quote, the joke that he said he made about the gym aspect, I was waiting to see if there would be just some, some real accountability about the situation, but then it was more, I'm going to run away. And I was like, oh, Tyson, you can't run.
No, he couldn't run. That reaction, I was surprised to see, because of course I saw that conversation between him and the two ladies in the gym. I saw that when he says to them, I think I might go home by myself. He had said that to me right after that conversation. I didn't realize then he again repeated it to them. And I thought that was incredibly telling. and his response even to me, which is, oh, I need to be more careful of the jokes I make. No, just at least acknowledge that it's not a funny joke. But yeah, there was no accountability. And again, I said nothing to the ladies. That was for him to handle on his own if he chose to. I was as surprised as I think many of the people watching at home were to see how that was handled. So
rounding up, because obviously you guys had a last conversation. It was very matter of fact, closed book. That's what it felt like. It felt like, I finished the book now. You know what I mean? That's how it kind of closed out, rather than being, oh, I've reached the end of the book and oh man, I wish that hadn't ended. It's more like, yeah, let's close that book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how it felt for you in that space, because you guys had that conversation outside, you were talking, and he just looked like he was just ready to he's like, yeah, let me get out of this situation. Thank God. He's like, almost like, thank God you said it, because I want to be the bad person again. You know what I mean? So, but how did you feel about that last conversation? What was happening?
I will just say that my bags were packed. I was ready to go. And when I walked into that coffee date situation thing, I knew what I was going to say and that I was planning to leave. That was my mindset.
Yeah.
Going into that day. And yes, you've mentioned edits and things like that. Even with the various edits or whatnot, I think you can see me trying very hard to be nice, be amicable, and part ways on as much of a positive note as possible, but make my point clear that I don't feel that we have trust and respect between each other, even as friends. And you sort of see him, try to finish my sentences or cut off or.
Yeah. Definitely that part. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say he saw the writing on the wall before I could even say I am leaving. He was like, oh, she's about to do, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was very clear where my sort of speech was going.
Yeah.
And that I was ready to go home. Yeah. So
finishing obviously your journey on King's Court, what was one thing that you feel that you really learned from being on that journey on Bravo, on King's Court? What was the one thing you've learned that's sticking with you after you finished that journey?
Something I think that maybe I've realized in this sort of aftermath is just as I was very much on the show, and you see me being this way, sort of an observer, a friend and a confidant, to some of the ladies, never really getting involved in drama. Right? That wasn't my vibe. It's been a year later, and it's been really interesting to see sort of the reactions and how people are feeling a year after the fact. I'm so happy to have done the show. I'm grateful for the opportunity. It is a unique and a once in a lifetime experience. No, but it's just such a unique experience too. All of us are going to be bonded from this experience for life now, right? Because we all lived it together. That being said, my life has gone back to what it always was. I was just away last weekend singing a symphony concert.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm producing another concert in a couple of weeks. I'm working on my nonprofit with BLAC. It is work and my social life as normal. It was Fashion Week here in New York. I've been going to the shows. And it's been fun watching back with my friends and with my family, but the show has not redefined me. It hasn't. It's been something that I did. It's an experience. I take it. It's a feather in the cap, but it has not fundamentally changed who Alyson Cambridge is. You know, and I do see, you know, I notice some, how do I say this? I think it has had lasting and deeper effects emotionally for some people
ladies
than for others.
Yeah.
Men and women. I'll just say as a blanket statement. I have noticed that. And for me, I'm like, wow, it was a great ride. And okay, that was entertaining. And okay, yep, that happened. That's something. But I don't know. I'm still Alyson. I still feel confident, know like sort of who I am. And if there were parts that I'm like, oh, maybe that didn't quite happen how I remember or what, I don't take it personally. I still remember this was a television show. Yeah. It was a television show. And I'm still who I am, regardless. Does that answer the question?
It does. You got me asking one last question. What moment then on the show that was edited did you feel like that wasn't necessarily how I remember it quite, you know?
Without going into details, I will just say there was a lot in episode 9, in my final episode. It was just there was so much. Okay. There was so much. And maybe it's hard to capture. It's very hard to capture because there's so many hours of filming, right? And you can only put so much into whatever it is, 45, 47 minutes. The energy in the house that day was just heavy. Very heavy.
It's hard to capture that. Yeah, I get you saying.
Yeah. And we all felt it. You know, you saw me talking to Janae at one point and I was upset. And it was because of the day. It was because of this sort of like negative, sort of heavy energy, tense energy, I would say, that was just sort of in the house and that everybody was feeling. And yeah, I mean, but again, it's hard. You can't capture all of that in one episode and then all the different couples interviews and stuff like that. But I think, you know, sort of my exit interview that they showed really captured in general my sentiments that I had throughout, which was, you know, I said in my first episode, am I what Tyson probably needs? Yeah. Am I what he's looking for? No. And I knew that for the whole journey.
Early.
And yeah, and no. And so, like I said before, I left when I was ready to leave. And I'm grateful for the ride in between. Well,
Alyson, as from the beginning to the end, classy as ever.
Thank you.
It's been a wonderful conversation. I've been really intrigued just to hear your experience and your POV as well. I think I said it before, just hearing about your achievements and, you know, your heights that you've gone to in terms of the opera world is wonderful. I think you have a vivacious energy that's infatuating, but it's also drawing in. It's attractive. It's a light. And I think that is something that is wonderful to have. It glows. You can see that, you know.
Coach, thank you. That's so sweet. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
No, it's real. I've enjoyed it. I've been sitting in. I've been really like.
And you analyze people.
I do. And honestly, I didn't even want to analyze this. And this is why I didn't bring any analysis, because I really just wanted to just hear, listening to you. There's some, and I'm hitting on it on purpose, because I think it's rare that you get to hear the light from somebody. So when you do get to hear it, sometimes you have to abandon the process. I just wanted just to listen. Like whenever you're talking, I just find myself listening. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm hearing you. So I think that's it's a gift in itself. So that's why I'm harping on that. And I'm saying like, hey, thank you so much for gracing us But thank you also for being a light. And I just pray that you continue to be able to be a light wherever you go. As someone said, yeah, very genuine spirit. It's just authentic, and it's nice to be able to encounter that, you know?
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you've made this conversation very easy. And as I said, I've watched some of your other videos, and you have a great way of interviewing folks and making them feel very at ease and able to open up. And so I'm glad that we could have this conversation, and it was equally fun. And I also got your light. I felt it back. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No worries at all. Well, audience, thank you for joining us. This has been a powerful conversation. I hope you ladies have also enjoyed. It's good to see women who are empowered and are killing it in their field as well. We love to see people who are mastering things. So I appreciate the audience for being here and joining us in the festivities of conversation. Alyson, to you again once more. Hopefully we get to see you soon again. I'm going to be following you, so I'm going to be checking out to see where you're at and see what the achievements are going on, because I'm very much appreciative of the work and the art that you're in as well. So hopefully we get to see you again soon. Audience, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Behave yourselves out there, okay? All right, you heard Alyson. She knew from the beginning, I ain't playing that game with you, okay? So keep it classy, keep it cute, all right? And we'll see you again very, very soon, audience.